After a solid start for the Beavs, Jared Goff and the Cal offense got rolling and things did not go well from there. But there were plenty of bright spots for OSU. We'll talk about the positive surprises that have been found throughout the season. Plus, Coach Anderson will join us to break down this week's battle with the faltering Huskies. Beavers Inside the Huddle starts now.
Everybody be a playmaker. The back of the end zone. Touchdown, Beavers!
And welcome into the Flat Tail Brewing Studios along with Beav great Steve Priest. I'm Dusty Hare with you for the next half hour. Coach Gary Anderson will be joining us. If you want to interact with us in the show, use the hashtag BeaversFB. Mr. Priest, where do we start here with the Oregon State Beavers and another loss at Cal?
Deja vu all over again. You know, the Beavs start out on defense particularly just great, like they did the week before at UCLA. It looks like they've got it figured out. They're bringing pressure. They're doing all kinds of good things for the first couple of series. In fact, we're going to take a look at some of the things that they do in this game because it starts out just exactly what the Beavers have been teaching, what Coach Satake has been talking about, what they wanted to get out of it, put pressure on Goff, quick pressure on the receiver so that he couldn't throw the ball quickly, and then you win.
Well, let's head over to the InFocus Mondo Pad collaboration that works and start breaking this thing down with the film and that pressure that you were talking about. Seemingly pretty simple at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, they start on a three-man line. Look here, Ricky Ortiz, who's a linebacker who's going to get his first start this week, actually, fans. And over here, you got another linebacker, and they're going to be coming from the outside. Five-man pressure, but what really is good is the tight cover here, and basically tight cover on the outside, so the plays can't be made quickly. When the play starts, you'll see that the combination here, these two guys are supposed to have 1 and 2, and they end up getting mixed up completely, and this guy frees himself up. It's just exactly what the Beavers have been trying to create all season. Ortiz on the outside again. He will be starting this week. He's just been really catching up with this linebacker stuff. He's learned how to play it this season. He was a fullback and an H-back prior to the season, and he's really done a good job of catching on.
Now that's something you have a little bit of experience with, going from one side of the ball to the other, and you have a unique experience because you were a quarterback at Oregon State and a cornerback in the NFL. Now, take us through the mindset change that Ricky Ortiz is going through, moving from offense to defense in a year.
Well, you know, it helps because you've played the other side of the ball, as you know, and so you have a little bit of an idea what's going on. I was actually told when I went to the NFL that it was a good thing because I didn't have any bad habits on that side of the ball yet. So I think his positions, that he's played multiple positions before, that helped him more than anything else because he converted over, he knew what the offense was doing. Now it helps him on the defensive side.
All right, let's head to play number 2.
Yeah, this is later on in the game. After the first 2 3-and-outs, the Beavers come out in the third quarter, and they've kind of stopped it up pretty well. They've got the same kind of situation, a 3-4. This is Jonathan Willis, who's been playing more and more, number 32. He's been a leading tackler 2 straight weeks in a row, doing well. Again, tight cover up here. This is tight to the line of scrimmage again with the corners. They're picking people up, and again, this one is surprising because this guy comes this way, and Levante Burnett takes number 1, number 2, and number 3, and takes them all out of the way to free up the man to the outside. Take a look at this. Look at Burnett inside. 1, 2, 3. Takes the running back and everything, and it's a quick sack. The Beavers get 2 for the game. That's all they get. And then they succumb to the long throws and the big plays and the explosive plays.
You mentioned in that both plays, one thing that had a common resemblance in both those plays, tight coverage on the outside. They start to loosen it up as the course of the game goes on. Is that just kind of these corners not having a short memory, maybe getting a little scared of getting beat deep once?
I think it's youth. I think when you get beat early on, you start to backpedal. You start to back off. You start to worry a little bit about what's going to happen. So you just pull yourself back to where you feel like you're safe. And it's a mistake. You got to get more aggressive, particularly in a blitz situation, as you know.
Now, it wasn't all bad down there. I mean, after things started really good defensively, the story that we've seen from Oregon State over this Pac-12 schedule, you start well on defense, and the running game really got heated up, and the running backs played very well, and it was by committee for the Beavs to really start this game off, Steve.
Well, we saw Paul Lucas, number 16. He's a freshman. He's been active the entire season as a true freshman, but he was a wide receiver the whole time. And Damian Haskins, another young player here. Great speed with this guy, and this guy's a load. He's about 225 pounds. They look good. And you know, I got to hand it to Nick Mitchell. He came back from a 4-turnover effort. He threw well. He ran well. It was a nice game for the offense through the middle of the second quarter.
It's good to finally have those guys all starting to come back. I mean, Damian Haskins obviously not getting a bunch of carries. Paul Lucas we haven't even heard of. You know, having these guys come back, get healthy as other guys are getting hurt. It's kind of the lumps of the season. If they were all to be healthy together, we might see a completely different offensive output.
Well, absolutely. And you get 20, I think we started 20 different people on offense, 22 on defense. That's combinations are all different. A lot of these guys are not only 20 different guys on offense or defense, but these are guys who are starting at different positions. This week you've got guards playing tackle, tackles playing guard. You got cornerbacks playing safety. Isaac Siamala is going to go out to left tackle this week. You know, it's just amazing what they've had to do to get along because of the lack of numbers.
Well, and one of those numbers things kind of caught up to him last week, late in the game. The big play was the big story for Cal breaking this thing wide open, Steve.
Well, too many numbers, explosive plays. That's what turns games around and turns close games into routes. You watch the Beavs here, and this is a screen, and it turns out to be way too much for Oregon State. But they got beat on a couple long bombs also that really take their toll. They're demoralizing as you look here. Just a simple corner pattern, but no help. Tough play. And again, the quick screen inside. Good runners here, good talent, big kids. Tough to bring down.
That 760 yards is a record for Cal, and I have a feeling they will be setting a bunch of records because that's a very dynamic offense that Sonny Dykes has got rolling down there. We've got a bunch to get to on the show. Coming up next, the man himself, Gary Anderson, joins us. We'll have our keys to the game coming up a little later. Some breakout stars of this season that Coach Anderson will be talking about. We'll take a look at UW and Chris Peterson's Huskies. Coming up next, Beavers Inside the Huddle rolls on. And welcome back into the Flat Tail Brewing Studios. Steve Priest, Dusty Hare. Let's not waste any time. Steve, let's get to the man himself, the coach down in Corvallis. Gary Anderson joining us live from Corvallis. Coach Anderson, thank you for the time for joining us this afternoon or this evening. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Steve always said he wanted to be the head coach. So,
not right now. Not right now.
No, not you.
Coach, let's talk about the running backs for last week's game. At Cal, we saw some new guys step up with injuries in the backfield. Paul Lucas, your quarterback Nick Mitchell, and Damian Haskins with big games in the ground attack. With injury, you can get some of these new names to step up and have big games. Talk about those guys' effort in an absence of having the marquee backs that we've come to know back there this year.
Yeah, it was great to see Paul do some things, and Damian also. You know, Damian is just, if he can just stay healthy, he's got a chance. Damian's issues is he gets back on the field, and then all of a sudden he gets another nagging injury, and he needs the practice time. He's got to get out there and bang all the way through it. Paul Lucas came into a situation, and he's taking advantage of opportunity. When opportunity knocked, he's done a great job, and kind of started with special teams. He showed his toughness and some special teams reps that he took. Did some things at the wideout spot, but we always knew we could put him back there if we absolutely had to. And, you know, when he got the opportunity, he took advantage of it. So he'll remain in the backfield now. He's explosive. He's a tough-minded kid, and we need to continue to create competition at every spot. And that's what Paul has done because he's a competitive, tough-minded kid. So it'll be fun to see him. Ryan will be back there in the backfield this week. So keep building up the numbers and let those kids continue to battle and compete against each other. Nick did some good things with his feet, which was great to see. We still need to keep the passing game coming along, which is very important to him and the rest of the offense.
Coach, let's shift back to last week just a second. How good did you feel like after watching the game? You know, the defense shut out Goff pretty well the first few series, and then he really turned it around and put 700 some odd yards on us. Was he really as good from a coaching perspective when you watched him on the field as he appeared on television?
Well, he's a tremendous quarterback when he's given the opportunity not to be disrupted. And, you know, there's holes in every zone, as you know, Steve. There's man-to-man coverage can only be man-to-man coverage for so long. And it's a big field that we play on. And the issue is if you are not hindering the quarterback pre-snap, if you're not hindering the quarterback with the ability to get to him and hit him, take him out of his very protective feeling that he gets back there that, hey, my guy's got me and I got plenty of time to throw the ball, you're going to have issues, and that was the case. I thought pre-snap we caused some issues. Great job by the defense. I thought our scheme as far as bringing guys off of different edges and forcing backs to be able to block us at times and cause us some issues there was good, but it's just the fact of the matter, if you cannot rush the quarterback in this league with great quarterbacks, you're going to give up a bunch of yards. That's what happened. In turn, the run game got going, and again, we tackled very poorly. So, as I always say, got to be better coaches, then hopefully we can get the kids to react in a better situation.
Well, Coach, we don't see a quarterback like that this week. Young Jake Browning's pretty good, but this is a good Washington team. And I think what's really interesting here is the Beavers have 8 to 10 guys continually out of Washington. It has to be a huge game for a Pacific Northwest opponent. You look around your roster and you got 2 Mitchell brothers starting. That's got to be unusual, and they're Washington, Seattle area kids. So is it a bigger game because of the Pacific Northwest? And talk a little bit about what the Huskies bring to the table, particularly how they're different from the last couple of opponents we've faced.
Well, I think it's always fun when you're going home to play or your hometown school's coming to play you. So I'm sure that comes with a little bit of extra emotion and excitement for all the kids that are involved in that situation. You know, Washington is a well-coached football team, first of all. Coach Peterson, I've had an opportunity to compete against him many times, talk football with him. Many times. We had a couple bowl games there at Utah State. They were there preparing for their bowl games when he was at Boise State, and we had a lot of times I just sat down and again listened to him and see how he was structuring things and running things as a head coach. So much respect for him, his staff overall. They do a great job. I think they do a great job of recruiting. You know, they've in a position on that defensive side of the football, they've had very talented players, and last year and then this year continues down that line. They are very good on the defensive line. You know, Sark and his crew obviously did a great job of recruiting prior to leaving and departing to go to USC, and they've also recruited there well since Coach Peterson's been there on the defensive side of the ball. So anytime you see a defense that has those type of players, we recruited those guys too. We know who they are, so we know how special they are. They're elite defenders in a lot of those situations. So good scheme, good coach, good players equals great defense, and that's what they have. On offense, they've got a very good young quarterback who cannot be allowed to just, again, feel comfortable. When he does, he's pretty dang good. They got some very, very elusive slot receivers and running backs that play at a very high level. So it's going to be an offense that's very well run. It's going to be driven to take advantage of what we do and force ourselves to play very good defense, and in turn, we're trying to do the exact same thing.
We're just getting started with Coach Anderson. We got our keys to the game to get to. But coming up next, he mentioned Paul Lucas. Number 16 is one of those rising stars of this Oregon State program. We'll get some of the surprise players from Coach Anderson. This is Beavers Inside the Huddle. Beavers Inside the Huddle rolling on. We were talking about Paul Lucas and his emergence in the running game, which brings us to our Diamond in the Rough, presented by Benbridge Jewelers, as Coach Anderson joins us live in Corvallis. Coach Anderson, 13 carries, 70 yards for Paul Lucas. You mentioned briefly his emergence when we were talking about him in the last segment. What is it about this kid, moving him from receiver to running back, that you guys saw to make that change, and really what made him thrive last week against Cal?
Well, Paul played a ton of running back in high school. He was a very, very talented running back. He has tremendous speed, and what gave him the opportunity is what we look for when recruiting. tough-minded kid, loves the game of football, and he loves to compete. Paul liked to compete all year long, whether it was in track, whether it was in football, whether it was in his summer conditioning. He was an elite athlete, and he loves to compete. So I hope that a lot of kids that are out there that are looking to come to Oregon State have an idea, and they say, you know what, those guys will play freshmen, and they'll put them in spot as long as they show they're ready to go. We'll put them in a position to let them go play. You know, may the best players play. But Paul has fought through this. He's never hung his head, which he could have. As a freshman, he could have a couple times said, oh, woe is me, I'm not playing as much as I thought I should have. I should have redshirted, yada, yada, yada. None of that. He just kept on battling through it. He trusted his coaches, and I'm proud of him. It's fun to see him make some plays. Too bad the one got called back, or he would have had over 100 yards, and we're looking to put the ball back in his hands this week. He's a dynamic playmaker that gives us a chance to get points on the board, which, as we all know, that needs to start happening if we're ever going to compete in this league.
Coach, we knew about Paul, or at least his history and talent. We didn't know about Gabe Ovgaard. He's a guy that's continued to get to play more. He has a big pick last week, and I noticed he's listed as a starting safety this week. Talk about Gabe.
Yep. Gabe's the same way, you know. Gabe's playing in his home state, and sometimes that's a very, very powerful tool, but he's a tremendous athlete. He's continued to learn on the fly very quickly. Was in special teams on scout team at the first of the year, got involved on special teams, started on one special team, two special team, three special team, kept on rolling, took him over from the scout team, brought him over with the safeties and the DBs back there, and he just continually, quite frankly, kept catching my eye a lot watching that defensive film in practice. He is just a guy that we sometimes say is hooked up right, if you will. The game means a lot to him. Again, tough, yep, check that off. Care factor, yep, check that off. So he's done a tremendous job, and he'll start this week, and he'll start this week because somebody presented him the opportunity to start this week, and he'll take advantage of that opportunity, and I'm excited to watch him play.
Another freshman that you've highlighted in our preparation for this show is a guy that comes out of a highly touted high school, Sumner Houston, on the defensive end. Big kid out of De La Salle down in California. This kid has really come on. We've seen his snaps grow exponentially, and you say we're not afraid to play freshmen. This diamond in the rough that we're talking about, 3 guys, all young. What makes Sumner Houston so special that he's getting that extra love on the field this late in the year?
Well, Sumner, again, he's just deserved the opportunity. You try to get your best starting 3 defensive linemen on the field, and right now moving Kyle Pecco to an end and putting Sumner Houston at the nose guard position puts our 3 best players on the field. You know, that's the way we believe in it as a staff. That's the way it will always be. There is no hierarchy because I've been here and I'm a senior or I'm a junior and I deserve this and I deserve that. That's not the case. So Sumner has earned it. He's worked his tail off. I'm excited for him for these next couple weeks to get on the field and play. I'm equally as excited to watch him be able to get in the weight room, and he'll be 300 pounds next year, dang close to 300 pounds as a sophomore. I coached his brother, was a quarterback at Wisconsin. Very, very, very good kid. Again, they both obviously come from the same family. They come from a great family. You know, football's important, but you know what? Education, being a good kid is equally as important, and I've had an opportunity to coach 2 of the Houston boys, and they're tremendous, tremendous young men. But it's going to be fun to watch Sumner continue to grow and develop, and excited again. Somebody gave him an opportunity. He took advantage of it, so now he's going to start.
All right, Coach, the Huskies coming to town. You guys are breaking ground on the Valley before the game. Quick final thoughts before we head into the UW game and send you on your way to game week.
Well, it's exciting times to be able to get this, you know, new facility underway. The kids are going to be excited. We're excited as a staff. It's exactly what we need. I can go on and on about that, but words can't really express what it's going to do for this program. It truly is a difference maker in a lot of different ways, but most importantly is from myself and every football player, every coach, and anybody that's associated with Oregon State football. We'd just like to say thank you. A big, big, giant thank you to the donors that allowed this to be able to happen. It takes a lot of people to do things like this, and it just shows the importance of football at Oregon State. It shows the direction that the program's headed, and we're blessed and proud to be part of it and get this thing moving in the right direction as we continue forward to these next 2 games this year and then move into next season.
All right, well, we thank Coach Anderson for taking the time to join us today. Steve and I still got our keys to the game that we need to get to coming up next. It's the Beavers Inside the Huddle, and we wrap it up and send you off to the UW week, Beavs and Dogs. We're just going to let you know right here, right now. New date. To next week, the Civil War edition is on Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Coach Anderson will still be joining us. We will not be on Thanksgiving. We're not going to make Coach Anderson leave.
Don't leave that big meal.
Right. It is time, Steve, to unveil our keys to the game, brought to you by your local Northwest Honda dealers. For me, 400 yards of total offense. I don't care how it gets done. Just get it done. Get us 400 yards of total offense. 2, special teams touchdown. Get 6, return, block, kick, I don't care. And then 3rd, shut down the run, less than 175 yards on the ground for the Huskies. I think you'll have a good day.
I do too. You know, the Beavers got nearly 400 last week, but this is a different defense at Washington. Washington has the best defense I think we've seen, maybe better than Utah's, particularly in the front line. They're tough. Oregon State's defense this week, I don't care what they do on that side of the ball, like you said on your offense. They just got to hold them to 21 points. This is a Washington team that can be held down, and the Beavers have to keep them to where they can score and win this football game. That leads up to offense. Balance the offense out. Don't let Washington line up and play the run only or play the pass only. And last but not least, get a turnover, get a special teams play, something to score points and win this football game.
We agree. We'll be back Wednesday with Coach Anderson right here, 8 o'clock. Steve Priest, Dusty Hara, Beavers Inside the Huddle.